The following program contains incessant calls to battle with the unsavory. If you suffer from squeaky clean-handedness, Randall might not be right for you. Check with your local Pharisee.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. The host who has no equal. He uses sweet and low. Randall Terry.
Welcome, friend, to a special edition of Randall Terry, the voice of resistance. It is July 4th weekend. I promise you this, stay with me through this show. By the time you're done, you're going to have college-level material, perhaps master's-level material, on the Declaration of Independence and the theocentric, God-centered nature of that document, and the fact that our founders put God squarely in the foundation of this republic. Learn these lessons, and you will be a dreadful weapon for justice and truth with a capital T. Today's program brought to you in part by the tyrants of history, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, and our very own Barack Hussein Obama. And by men who fight tyrants, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Patrick Henry, and you. I'll be right back.
This guy Obama, what a piece of work, moron de statura. Anyway, let me tell you something. If you steal someone's credit card and you go out and you buy certain things and then you give it to your favorite charity or to people in need, you think you're some kind of Robin Hood. You're still stealing and you're still a thief. Obama, he's running up debt, taking out a credit card in the name of every man, woman, and child in America. He's stealing from you. Don't you understand? In fact, he should be in here with me. No, I have a better idea. I'll give him my cell. Put me in the big White House, huh? If you're going to run a criminal syndicate, you might as well have a professional at the helm. Huh? I'm just offering.
Welcome to the broadcast, friend. I hope that you're having a great 4th of July weekend. And whenever you're seeing this, let me first apologize for broadcasting from a green screen. We are still in the middle of building our new studio, and man, when it's done, it is going to be awesome. Eat your heart out, Stephen Colbert, Glenn Beck. This studio is going to rock. All right, having given you that apology, we're going to talk about the Declaration of Independence today. Now, this is not for people who cannot think logically. This is not for people who are committed with blind eyes and plugged ears who say, I don't want to hear anything about God being a part of America's governance or a part of America's founding. If that's you, turn off your computer or turn your television station because you're committed to ignorance, and I'm afraid that there's not much help for you until you're willing to at least take the key of truth and compare it to the shackles that you're wearing, compare it to the lies to which you cling. Are you hearing me, people for the American way? Are you hearing me, child killers, militant homosexuals? Are you listening? When you're prepared to at least look at historical, philosophical, and theological truth, maybe you can be freed from the lies that hold you. Until then, if truth isn't for you, go on about your way. Go on now. This is for people who want to know history, understand philosophy and theology, and how they are connected to America's founding. All right, July 4th. It's the day that we celebrate our independence, and of course that was sparked by the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. In this segment, I'm going to read to you 4 passages from the Declaration that have reference to God. And what I intend to show you is that these references to God only have meaning inside of a Judeo-Christian framework. Okay? So you listen and be judged for yourself. The first reference to God. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. That phrase, the laws of nature and nature's God, it was written at a time when the concept of natural law, the laws of nature, was grounded in philosophy and in jurisprudence. We're talking about men like Thomas Aquinas, Augustine, Grotius, who was a brilliant both theologian and philosopher who helped develop the laws of nations and the laws of the seas. Blackstone, Samuel Rutherford. These philosophers all understood that natural law basically meant the way God has made the universe, not just with the natural elements, but with the laws of God written on our hearts. Okay? All men know that some things are intrinsically evil. That is one of the reflections of natural law. The phrase, the laws of nature and nature's God, that couplet is referring not just to natural law, which requires a certain amount of reason and logic, but revealed law, what philosophers called revealed law. In other words, the Ten Commandments. It's revealed from heaven, or transcendent law. It comes from above. Or the Beatitudes. Again, special revelation. The Judeo-Christian tradition holds that God spoke laws to Moses and that he wrote them with his own finger in stone. And that Jesus Christ was the God-man, fully God, fully man, and that he spoke the truth about God and the nature of man and continued with the tradition of Moses. Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy the law, I came to fulfill it. He said all of the law and the prophets are summarized in love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, love your neighbor as yourself. So this phrase, the laws of nature and nature's God, written in 1776, only had reference to the Judeo-Christian God. It did not have reference to the Mohammedan God. It certainly wasn't talking about Confucius philosophy or about Buddhism or about any other religious fount in the world. It certainly wasn't deism. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. The next phrase in the Declaration that is distinctly Judeo-Christian is, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration of Independence states boldly that there is a Creator, that we human beings are created. We did not spring from the mud. We are not here by time and chance. We are not the cosmic accident of some great big bang or some great big burp. We're here because we were created by the Creator. Let me give you the last two, and then I'll take a break. They said, we, the representatives of the United States of America, appealing to the supreme judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions. The supreme judge of the world. This, again, is a distinctly Judeo-Christian principle. They're praying, they're appealing to him. They're appealing to him to judge based about the uprightness of their actions. They're basically praying, God, judge between us and Great Britain. This is not the deist God. The deist creed, which some modern scholars, and I say that in quotes, some modern scholars want to say, oh, well, these references to God in the Declaration are simply deism. Well, in the truest sense of the word, the deist creed is this: I believe in God, period. That's it. They don't believe in God the judge. They don't believe in God the lawgiver. They don't believe in a God who hears and answers prayer. All of these elements are present in the Declaration, appealing to the supreme judge of the world. And then finally, for the support of this declaration and with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The doctrine of divine providence comes right out of the scriptures, beginning with the phrase Jehovah Jireh, when Abraham said God will provide, when he was taking his son Isaac up? Jehovah Jireh, the Lord our provider. The doctrine of divine providence springs directly from the Old and New Testaments, and it shows that they believed in this Judeo-Christian God. And by the way, every single one of the signers of the Declaration had a Trinitarian baptism, with the possible exception of Benjamin Franklin. That means that when they used these phrases discussing God, they all understood the meaning of God the Creator, of God the Lawgiver, of God the Supreme Judge, and of God the Provider. This document, my friends, this document which gave birth to this nation, is anchored directly in the Judeo-Christian framework and in Judeo-Christian theology about the nature and the very person of the Godhead. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we'll look at what are those implications then for our lives, our freedoms, for laws. Don't go away.
The mountain roads in West Virginia are outfitted with signs that say, "Look out for fallen rocks." To which my father said, "Let the fallen rocks look out for themselves."
Moments with Moses. I will lay your cities waste, and will make your sanctuaries desolate, and I will not smell your pleasing odors.
Welcome back, friend. Did you know that your rights come from God, not the state? The Declaration specifically says that you are endowed by your Creator with unalienable rights, the rights that cannot be taken away from you. And then they went on to say that to preserve, protect these rights, governments are instituted among men. The reason we have government is to protect the rights that God gave us according to the laws that God gave us. And when a nation, a law body, a political body, becomes destructive to those rights, the Declaration says it's the right and sometimes even the duty to overthrow such a government. All of these implications spring directly from the God-centered nature of the Declaration of Independence. God gives rights, and those rights are defined by God's laws. See, some people want to say, well, you have the right to pursue happiness any way you want. You want to kill your baby with abortion, you want to have a homosexual marriage, you want to have sex with children, whatever it is, you should be able to do it because you have the right to the pursuit of happiness. No. You have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the framework of the laws of nature, and nature's God. You don't get to make it up. You don't get to decide for yourself what you can do and what's right and what's wrong. Those principles, those laws come from our Maker, and our Declaration of Independence says so. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, a phenomenal interview with somebody who's analyzing the religious right and its impact in politics. Don't go away.
It's just not art, it's a philosophical statement that the Ten Commandments are the foundation of justice and law. Now I know that there's probably some older, lecherous men here.
I have no fear of the future. Let us go forward into its mysteries. Let us tear aside the veils which hide it from our eyes, and let us move onward with confidence and courage. Sir Winston Churchill. Welcome back, friend. The religious right. Allegedly, it stands for all of these principles regarding God and life and liberty. Why then do we keep losing? Listen to this interview with Stephen Dace. He's dead on.
I'll teach you how to use this. But first, I must teach you how to use this. It's our wits that make us men. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have Stephen Dace with me, who really and truly knows how to use this, his noggin. He's biblically founded in his understanding of good and evil, right and wrong, justice and injustice, and that's why we have him on this program. Steve and another co-author are coming out with a book soon called We Won't Get Fooled Again. Rumor has it that I'm going to write an appendix.
Yeah, I think you might have a little bit of experience with the subject matter that we're going to discuss in the book. And with the book, it's an expose of the religious right and why it didn't work. But what makes it unique, Randall, is it's from the perspective of those who were there. This is not, Greg and I, he's 40, I'm going to be 38. It's really easy for us to backseat drive and Monday morning quarterback when we're from a different
virtue of your age.
Yes, because we weren't there. We didn't walk a mile in your generation's shoes. We didn't have to make these moral calculations, these gut check calls. We didn't have to do it. So it's really easy for us to sit back and look at the fruit a generation later and say we don't see it. But that puts us sort of in a self-righteous, judgmental role that we're actually condemning in the book. So instead, we went right to the people that were there. Where were the course incorrections? What were the steps that were taken that you saw 10 years later, you went back and thought, that's where we went wrong. We did it wrong right there. And the book is sort of written Jeremiah style. It's written as if we're weeping prophets and we're writing to the next generation. Hey, soon it will be our turn to take the mantle from this generation. Let's learn from their successes and certainly learn from their failures. And let's not get fooled again by the partisan political process because there's too much at stake. We've lost an entire generation. Think back to 1980 and look at all the cultural markers when evangelicals and Catholics formed the moral majority, the religious right, in the first term of Ronald Reagan that got him elected. They were the last stool of that Reagan coalition there. And think about all the things they were concerned about, from where marriage was to the pro-life movement to the education our children were getting.
Prayer in school, Bible in school,
Yes.
go down the line. Religious liberty.
All those cultural indicators are dramatically worse than they were in 1980, which means if we were concerned about those things 30 years ago, now for me as a father with 3 young children, I'm even more concerned, and the clock is ticking on this republic. We don't have another 50 years by which to incrementally take steps to get back the country we've lost. This is the 2-minute warning now. We're down by a few touchdowns. So we not only got to score here, we got to recover the onside kick and score again. We don't have, this isn't the first quarter now on this civilization. And I think it's imperative for the next generation, before it takes over the mantle of leadership, to look at what the previous generation did wrong and did right and learn from it to accelerate its learning curve for the future generation. Otherwise, there may not be one, and your children better learn Chinese and Arabic really quick.
If you don't speak Arabic, thank the Crusades.
I'll take politically incorrect statements for $1,000, Alex.
I have to be honest with you, and this is for you, the viewer, as well. I've come to the point where I actually weep, sometimes convulsively cry on a regular basis because of our failures and because that we've lived alongside of evil for so long.
Yes.
That the actual internal alarm is no longer functioning.
Yes.
If most of the people in this room were put on trial for having tried to take away a woman's right to choose, most people here would be acquitted.
Yeah.
And the religious right, I led the largest civil disobedience movement in American history. 75,000 arrests. It's 10 times larger than the civil rights movement. And there was an hour 20 years ago, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, when we could gather crowds of thousands of people around an abortion mill. And now you're lucky if you can get 10.
Yeah. I think it's because, if you believe in the sovereignty of God, then evil becomes a very tricky philosophical proposition for you.
Got to go with free will, that's why.
But you have to ask yourself, if God is sovereign, why is there evil? And I believe that we have as much evil as we are willing to tolerate. That I think it is God's natural law that is self-enforcing. That I think it is essentially, it's a little bit, let me explain it this way. If I tell my kids not to go play in traffic and they do it anyway, the first few times they do it, they may not get hit by a car. But every conceivable time that they do it following that increases the likelihood that they're going to get sideswiped. And then when they get sideswiped, they're going to stand up and throw up their arms to heaven and say to God, hey, why didn't you protect me? I thought you counted every one of the hairs on my head. And God says, hey, didn't I give you that whole law about not playing in traffic thing? I mean, these laws become self-enforcing. And I think we are tolerant of evil. We are a convenience-based society. You know, the most influential church in the minds of the media in America is Saddleback Church. And if you look at the genesis of that church, Randall, it began with Rick Warren, according to his own words, polling the people in his community and asking them, why don't you come to church? Well, listen, I can just tell you, as somebody who grew up straight up pagan for 25 years, I can tell you why I didn't go to church. Because I was an evil sinner and I didn't want a minister or a priest telling me that. That's why I didn't go. And I made up all other excuses that it was about money and I didn't want to get up. The reason why is I didn't want to be confronted with the fact I was evil, that I deserved an eternal aisle seat in the smoking section of eternity. I didn't want anybody to tell me that.
He's talking about hell. For those of you who don't understand, he means the hot place where the devil and his angels are.
Yeah, I think, you know, so the very premise that I'm going to poll you and ask you, can you just see Jesus strolling through Galilee? Hey, I'm just here. Hey, don't mind me. I'm just here. I'm just trying to find out why didn't you come to synagogue on Saturday? I'm just wondering. How come you haven't come to hear what I've had to say, you know, over in the temple recently?
Ladies and gentlemen, this man makes me look like a moderate, and for that I'm thankful. You too can have a front row seat in the lake of fire. Jesus wants to know, why don't you go to church? All right, we're over on our time for today's show. We're gonna have Steve back again tomorrow. Can I have you back in tomorrow?
You bet.
All right. Now, this is what's really gross. He's going to be wearing the same shirt. Okay? Can you please change? I'm a national broadcaster.
I just want to say, it's the green movement. I'm trying to conserve our natural resources.
Good to have you, Steve. We'll be back tomorrow.
Great job, Stephen. I'll be right back, friends, with a word from one of our founding fathers.
If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would soon have dwelt in the land of silence. When I thought, my foot slips, thy steadfast love, O Lord, held me up.
Declaration of Independence signer Charles Carroll said, "Without morals, a republic cannot subsist any length of time. They, therefore, who are decrying the Christian religion are undermining the solid foundation of morals, the best security for the duration of free governments." Friend, if you try and take Christianity out of the fiber of this nation, her laws, her foundation, then you will ultimately bring the nation into collapse. We cannot be a free people if we are not a moral people. And if our morality is not based upon the Judeo-Christian principles of the Bible, we will perish.